I've got Jason Bell with me. The NFL doesn't stop, does it? It feels like it kind of was just about to start and now it started. My first question for you is there anything you saw in week one that changed your mind, good or bad?
No, you know what? Nothing really changed my mind. I always expect overreaction. I know because the preseason is shorter that you're going to have a little sloppy play on offense, right? Teams aren't executing at a high level. So as a fan, just be patient. They usually figure it out. The defenses can start faster, especially those who played their players during the preseason. Teams that played their starters during the preseason, they usually start fast. But don't panic, relax. It always smooths itself out.
Listen, I know you like to get excited though. So on that basis, anything that kind of really kind of revved your engine that was good?
The Chiefs.
Yeah.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes. I'm going for this three-peat. I'm ready for it.
You're all in.
I need this to happen because I just want to see this team, the Kansas City Chiefs, and their quarterback chase greatness. You're chasing Tom Brady. And to get that, you got to get a three-peat, right? Patrick Mahomes needs that to happen. And the way they played on offense, they seem so explosive. The way they can beat you vertically and horizontally, it's going to be hard to stop this team.
We mentioned when we first spoke about how important kind of adding to the weaponry was. Xavier Worthy was box office, wasn't he?
He was so fast. And this is why you need speed. Speed opens up everything else for everyone else. And that's what you saw. He stretched those defensive backs vertically. They had to stay back there because he could run past them at any time. And when they made a mistake, he capitalized and got a touchdown. That's what this offense needs, and that's what they got.
They play the Bengals this weekend, and they kind of, we don't want to overreact, but they kind of, Jamar Chase contract situations. Yes. T. Higgins has been injured. Like, they don't quite seem where we thought they might be.
Yeah, they always start slow. That's not new. But this contract negotiation, right? They have two great receivers. They chose one to pay, but they haven't paid him yet. And that's their team, explosive plays on the outside. And those guys aren't happy. It's been a disruption, and you've seen it. They got to get it together. They got to figure out a way to say, hey, we understand this is a business, but we got to go out there and perform. Because those two wide receivers and Joe Burrow are what make that offense tick.
So throwing it forward to sort of this week, we've got plenty of games to get excited about, obviously. But I was just going to touch on the Bills and the Dolphins last night. And there's kind of a big story now, isn't it, this Tua situation? Yes. It's a real worry.
Yeah. Remember, all last year was, can he survive these concussions? He made it through. He did all kind of stuff in the offseason to do that. And now you see this play. You see him get hit. He should have probably found another way to go down. But you're worried for him. Whenever you see a player get multiple concussions back-to-back, you're always worried about their safety, their longevity, their career, and their life. So right now, that is the most important thing is Tua, his health, things of that nature. They have a protocol they're going to go through. But this is all we're going to talk about. This team is high flying, but nothing happens if their quarterback's not out there and he's not healthy.
And they obviously took a decision to pay him in the summer, which obviously is great for his kind of future if it kind of comes down to that. But you've obviously played in the league. How sometimes difficult is it for the player to make a decision sometimes on kind of where he is?
You make a really good point because we want to be out there. And especially when we're looking at our teammates and we know we have an impact on the game and we can help. So if we're healthy, we want to be on the field. And this is why they have a protocol in place, because they want to prevent players from just saying, you know what, maybe I'm not sure, but I'm going to get out there with my teammates. They're not allowing that to happen. They're taking it out of the player's hands and they're making the decision.
So when you played, what kind of experience was kind of the concussion protocol for you? Because it obviously changed, obviously evolved an awful lot, but whether yourself, teammates, how did it work out for you?
We didn't have the independent person on the sideline. It was all based on our trainers, and I had great trainers. After you had a concussion, they went through all the protocols, and then you had a baseline test that you took. So you'd go on this computer, you'd see where you are, how you were responding to the questions, and that would determine has it cleared up. And usually when I had a concussion, went through that, it was fine. My worst concussion, I came back, went through that, then I went on the field for practice, and I immediately got a headache. And I knew, wow, this is serious. Mm-hmm. And then the trainer saw it, and they set me down. I wanted to play. They would not let me play, and that was the best thing for me. So these staffs are loaded with people that want to take care of players and are looking out for players. So they're watching to make sure you show no symptoms of post-concussion syndromes.
And it's obviously like a really sensitive subject. So, kind of there's no real time frame as far as Tua is concerned. But does there come a point where maybe the decision is made for him, not necessarily, by him, but maybe his family and things like that?
Without a doubt, he talked about speaking with his family before last year.
Yeah, in the quarterback documentary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do I want to play anymore? So if he has multiple concussions this year, that's definitely a situation where he's going to sit down with his family and think, what am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
What is best for the longevity of my life? As a father,
mm-hmm.
as a husband, things like that.
To take it back onto the field, I think one of the things that excited me the most last week, feels like last year.
I know it. That's the NFL.
Doesn't it? Was Saquon Barkley, who obviously everyone thought was going to be a big off-season acquisition, and he lived up to the hype, right?
He lit it up. I was thinking about him behind this offensive line and what it could be, and it did not disappoint. I mean, he's the kind of player that if he has just a little bit of a seam, he can break through and make a play explode. And he did that. This team has so many weapons at the wide receiver position that if, as a defender, you're trying to allocate your assets to take that away, well, he's going to have less numbers at the line of scrimmage to stop him in the running game, and he's going to take advantage of that. This offense will be and could be one of the best offense and probably will be one of the best offenses in the NFL because of that dynamic. He has changed everything for them.
You mentioned it when we were talking about the Chiefs a little bit, how important speed is, but not just in terms of stretching the field, but then to have a power running game that can kind of back that up. They seem to have got the balance perfect.
And everything in the NFL on offense is balance. And right now, when you can exploit the outside and people want to take away the big plays, you have to be able to run the ball in the middle through the tackles with power. And Saquon Barkley can do that. If you continue to run the ball with him, it just takes one defender to be out of his assignment, and he is breaking through for a long run.
And just while we talk about the Eagles, their kind of the end of last season was a bit of a dumpster fire, to use an American phrase. How do they kind of combat that? They've obviously made lots of changes. They've built up the sort of offense. Where do they go? Because chemistry is just as important as well.
Leadership. It's all about leadership. Every day, it's about the leaders coming in and saying, this is why we have to execute. This is why we have to practice this way. The things we do off the field are important because when we get into the later rounds, we cannot fail. We have to be ready for it. They have 2 new coordinators. That is working well, but it's all about the players taking ownership because the best teams are player-led, especially in the playoffs. You only get there because of what you've put in throughout the week, throughout the whole season, and your leaders are the ones who keep everyone accountable.
And then I suppose lastly, slightly tied to the Saquon Barkley situation, are the Giants.
Do I have to talk about the Giants?
I'm going to ask you because you know about the Giants.
Oh, my gosh.
How they obviously made a decision. They went with a quarterback over Saquon.
Yeah.
How do they find themselves? Because nobody likes to put too much pressure on, but it's now kind of a sustained period that they might be facing a situation that they have to make a decision.
New York is a hard place to have your back against the wall. I expect them to respond this week because the pressure that they're getting from the city, from the national media, they have to respond. Daniel Jones has to step up and play well. If he doesn't, he might get benched because it's so much pressure on that organization to play well. And they have said the entire offseason, we've put our quarterback in the best situation to succeed. Now, what can you do? So the pressure's on. We're going to see how they respond. My experience in the NFL is you usually get a spark from something like this, but it might not maintain.
What opinion on the kit?
Oh man, the kit. I love my Giants. I wasn't for the kit. It didn't. I wish they would have won to make it feel better, to make it just feel a little better. It wasn't a fashion statement I was willing to hang my hat.
No, it really wasn't, was it? And a final question. Tom Brady's debut, as far as TV is concerned, like I felt like it was safe.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably fair enough, right, to start off with?
Yeah, I have done live commentary before, and it is a rhythm. It's a cadence. It's something like getting warmed up, right? You got a long marathon. You don't go out and just sprint, right? You gotta pace yourself. And I think he did a good job in the later rounds. When you have so much knowledge and you only have so much time, You have to respond clear and concise. And he was starting to do that. Remember, he can tell you everything about every play. So it's him kind of honing that in, funneling that, and delivering it. I learned a lot by listening to him. He's going to tell you something. And I'm just excited that we got him in the booth, because think of how much knowledge and experience we get to learn from.
One thing I was just going to ask you on that, like you've clearly found your thing, like when it comes to being a broadcaster, right? Like you enjoy it, you get excited.
Yes,
That's your
get excited.
That's your thing.
Yeah.
But is it just a case of for him finding what his thing will be? You know, we saw Romo was kind of like predicting things to start with. Is it about that?
I think it's about your personality. The one thing you can duplicate and replicate all day long is who you are. And being comfortable with that is the key. People that have been around him like him. They followed him. He's done great things. Just be yourself, Tom, because it's worked before.
Awesome. Jason, look forward to chatting again. Great stuff.
All right, cool.
Top man.